dose of hot tea only on Win Media 98.9.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to Island Tea right here on Win Media SKN.
What's up? Morning.
Jade, so you just kill the intro. What's up? You're so excited.
Watch me.
You're so excited about. Oh.
Listen, today is a Deborah.
Yeah.
It's your fault, today.
It's not my fault.
It's
but
your fault.
let me welcome the people to the show. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Guys, it is Wednesday, May 11th. That means Hump Day.
Indeed.
And, we're looking forward to an amazing show. I am your fave and your host, Azam Bailey. And, of course, I'm joined by the lovely Jade Gwen, Edita CPL, Matter Stuart Johnson. And, like I said, looking forward to what ensues today. We have a very special guest that's going to be joining us in just a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, Jade, how are you doing? I like to check up on you, make sure you're doing good before we even get into it.
I am blessed and highly favored. I have no complaint. What am I doing?
That answer was just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's hump day, halfway through the week.
Yeah.
Things have been developing. Things have been happening. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of months.
You think so?
Yeah, man. You know why? Know why?
Why?
Wait.
Jade, where you get to that?
School calling, friend.
I ain't hear no school calling.
School calling.
I guess.
What the young people that say for in your class or that's the old people?
Well, eventually we're gonna have to. And of course, what you're talking about was the Prime Minister's address to the nation yesterday afternoon, right? Yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, man.
And all that ensued, persons have been talking, persons have been debating, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, man. Well,
But it's just the next step in the saga.
and this is why I said it's your fault, because yesterday we literally said we're not talking about this until something else happened, and then something else happened.
Oh, so who fault is it?
Yes.
Because you were the one who said that.
No, you was the one that is me.
Yes.
I thought it was you.
You said that.
So it's my fault.
I am blaming you. I don't know.
Oh.
I just know where I am laying the blame, and it lies squarely at the feet of Jay Johnson.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's kind of where
That's
we
okay.
At. Yeah, that's kind of where we at. But I think that we are really going to begin. Well, let me not say that, because I really don't know exactly what to expect.
From
Let me tell you. Up until everything that happened yesterday afternoon, it was kind of expected. What happens next?
Is unexpected?
I don't really know.
I don't know if anybody really knows.
I know one person who might know.
We're gonna ask him when we reach to him. So you better know. You better know.
But I love the faith they have in our guests coming up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, but you see, Jay, let me tell you something. One thing I could tell you. In life, I've learned there's so many variables, so many things that are out of our control. All you can control is your actions and your reactions, your decisions. You know what I mean? And I think that we in order to find where people's minds are at, that's what we look at, and ask those questions of them and see exactly where their minds are. Because that's all they could control. You can't control anything else.
Facts. Well, speaking of decisions, we have some that we can play.
Okay.
From the Prime Minister himself. That was made yesterday. Just a short clip, and then I'll read the full article. So here's what the Prime Minister had to say. Make sure y'all can hear him clearly. There we go.
The people of St. Kitts and Nevis certainly deserve better. Throughout this process, I have been reasonable but resolute in my commitment to ensuring that the government was delivering for you. It is for this reason that I have taken the difficult but necessary step to remove from their positions those who have shown a disinterest in their duties. I have asked His Excellency to reassign their portfolios to members who are willing and able to deliver for you. Yesterday I asked His Excellency the Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley-Seaton, to remove the Honourable Sean Richards from the office of Deputy Prime Minister. In his stead, I have advised His Excellency to appoint the Honourable Jean Hamilton to the office of Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, guys, yes, that was a clip from yesterday's announcement and press conference by the Prime Minister.
And we have some more for you guys. I mean, I don't know who wasn't listening or who missed it, but it says Prime Minister Harris, SKN Parliament dissolved, 6 ministers relieved of duty. So SKN Parliament dissolved, and yes, 6 ministers were relieved. Prime Minister, the Honourable Dr. Timothy Harris, has officially advised Governor General Sir Tapley-Seaton to dissolve Parliament. I have asked the Governor General to dissolve the Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis effective today, May 10th, 2022. The Prime Minister said he would announce when general elections will be held. However, according to the Constitution, after the dissolution of Parliament, elections must be held within 90 days, which brings us to August 11th. The Prime Minister confirmed that since the letter expressing that he be removed as Prime Minister was submitted to the Governor General on April 21st, the 6 members of Concerned Citizens Movement and the People's Action Movement who signed, namely the Honourable Sean Richards, Honourable Matt Brantley, the Honourable Lindsey Grant, the Honourable Jonel Powell, and the Honourable Alexis Jeffords and the Honourable Eric Evelyn have not attended Cabinet. I'm looking at you, sir. Additionally, the Prime Minister stripped the 6 ministers of government of their portfolios and reassigned the portfolio to the others in the cabinet. Most notably, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, who was named the new Deputy Prime Minister of the Federation and assigned Hamilton Richards' portfolio. Deputy Prime Minister Hamilton will now have conduct of the department and subjects under the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Post and Urban Development, and have been previously assigned to the Honorable Richards. I am also to advise that I have asked His Excellency to revoke the appointments of the other ministers who have thought it fit to disrespect the sacred trust that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis placed in the government following a very successful general election campaign in 2020, and as a result, the following individuals, namely the Honorable Matt Brantley, the Honorable Lindsey Grant, the Honorable Jonel Powell, the Honorable Alexis Jefford, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, have been stripped of the appointments as ministers of government. Prime Minister Harris continued, as I said earlier, government must continue to function in the interest of the people. As such, I have advised the Governor General to reassign the portfolios of the members of Parliament that have been removed. The Honorable Wendy Phipps will assume the additional responsibility for tourism and transport, including ports. The Honorable Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron, will assume the additional responsibility for foreign affairs and aviation, education, youth and sports. The Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, in addition to her responsibilities, will have added the portfolio for culture. The subjects of agriculture, fisheries, and marine resources and the environment will be brought under the Ministry of Sustainable Development. Prime Minister Harris has sustainable development under his portfolio. Don't have to tell y'all what this announcement comes on the heel of.
Where it comes on the heel of? Tell me.
Well, it follows months of political turmoil and local and regional coverage of the political sphere in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis that led to 6 members of the Team Unity administration to write to the Governor General of the loss of confidence in Prime Minister subsequently. Subsequently, the 6 members of PAM and CCM filed a motion of no confidence on April 25th. Yeah. Well, there was a response. There were several responses. Several.
There have been several responses.
Few of them I found hilarious. I'll read the ones that I found hilarious.
Go ahead.
So, in response to being relieved of duty, the Honorable Mark Brantley expressed that he is saddened to report that he was fired. The Facebook post continued, I have not been fired for lack of performance, because many locally and regionally have said that my performance as foreign minister has been exceptional. No, I and my colleagues have been fired because we decided that we will stand up for principle and for what's right. We have been fired because we decided we shall stand up for our country and for a better future for our people. We decided that Team Unity is, and will always be more than just one man's greed, an insatiable appetite for power and self-aggrandizement. Have to look for the other ones that I found very funny. Yes, I'm looking at you again. So over in the studio said, this is like writing a letter to your woman to say things not working out, so you want to break up. 3 weeks after she told you y'all done and she found another man. Shakes my head.
I mean, it happens.
It has, of course. Especially in this little nation that we live in.
It happens. Sometimes people just don't want to deal with issues. You try to fix the issues and people just want to fix the issues. Can't make them look at themselves.
So they done you.
And they done you.
They done your back.
But no, Jade, I think this is very I don't think it's shocking, to be honest, but I do, especially considering all that has led up to it.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe though it raises a lot of questions, like I said, in terms of what's next. What was interesting to me about the look from the first 10 seconds of the speech, I don't know what was coming.
I said about a lot of man about
Words,
to be unemployed.
words mean things.
Yep.
Jade. The Prime Minister start describing some people's actions as strange and irrational. I said, okay, it's over.
Bye. When he
This
start
ain't
to say,
this ain't going on a good road.
yeah, but when he started to say people ain't coming
This isn't
to Parliament,
this isn't
I
the
said,
olive.
"Ah."
This isn't the olive branch. We worked.
Nope, that's not the one that we expected to be extended.
Yeah, bye. But I mean, you personally, Jade, what do you think is next? What do you think is next?
Besides election?
I mean, election has to be called, unless we're really in like Tim Jong-un's country now.
Tim John. Tim John.
So yes, election
Yeah.
is on the horizon.
Well, I know what some people want to happen.
What do you think?
Some people feel like the Governor General should now remove the Prime Minister. Yeah. They're calling for it in 3 days.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
And then what?
Me no. I guess we just govern ourselves.
Anarchy?
A free for all.
People
in the
that just say
country.
things by. People that say, okay, so
Yeah.
on what
duh.
ground? On what grounds?
Me no.
I could I could understand the call, because for instance, if you look at the cabinet as the government as a corporation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say that the Prime Minister is CEO, and the cabinet members are the board members, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the board members, they mean like the job the CEO doing, they could call a vote, boom, 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 bam, bam.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it ain't really like that. It don't really function the exact same way.
Oh.
And so, yeah. No, my thing has been, there were several ways this could have played out. Right? There were several ways this could have played out. Because unlike what people seem to be putting out there, this ain't really that strange. Like, this happen all over the world.
Yeah.
We've had situations here where the opposition brought the motion against the sitting government.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, so you could say they have lost confidence, whether in the government or the leadership.
Mm-hmm. But everybody have to go since.
But this was interesting in fact that this came from within the cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we've seen it. That's what I'm saying. We've seen it in England. We've seen it in different countries all over the world, right?
I think it's just
Generally,
people here.
yeah. But generally, what happens is you get a resignation letter. Generally, that's what happens.
Who gets a resignation letter?
No, the Prime Minister generally steps down.
Oh.
Generally, that's
Generally?
what happens. Generally, that's what happens.
Well,
So that was one course of action. That obviously didn't happen.
obviously.
That obviously didn't happen. And then now we into this new phase where, okay, that didn't happen. So now we are on this whole other path.
Yeah.
We're on this whole other path. No, I think that we have to recognize at the end of the day, the electorate sitting here watching all what's going on, and everybody drawing their own conclusions, everybody coming up with their own perspectives, and then what happens, that now I think is going to be the main, well, let's say one of the main points on which people vote on.
Mm-hmm.
How people differentiate this everything, just what's happening. Just look at what's happening, right? And their perspectives and things like that. Whereas you would have hoped that, especially coming out of a pandemic, right? Especially coming out of a second.
Bueno.
Well, yeah, especially dealing with the global issues that really affecting us, whether it is supply chain errors, whether it is raising gas prices, and how we deal with that. Like, those have been the things that, kind of fuel voters' decisions moving forward. But really, truly, I don't think people can be studying about that when they go to the polls.
As in, one thing I found about St. Kitts and Nevis when it comes to elections is that you would hope they vote on certain issues, like, what's best for the country and all these things. That don't really feel like what's happening here, you know.
I said it yesterday, Jade. I said yesterday.
I don't really feel like that. A lot of people don't even know, especially young people, they don't even know what's happening. Like, I've been speaking to my friends, and they're so confused. They're literally so confused. They don't know. They didn't realize that we would be going back into a general election so soon. They don't understand the issues that are happening among the parties. They're just outside looking out like, okay, so what are we supposed to do? Like, everybody talking about pay me for my vote and my vote costs this much and this is how we're going to govern the country? And then they're going to cuss and say, oh, we put them there and they ain't doing what we want them to do and this like that. Y'all didn't tell them what y'all want them to do. Y'all tell them y'all want money.
Even that, y'all didn't even know what you want.
Exactly. Besides money. Besides money, friend.
But I said it yesterday. I think that is one of the things that doesn't really get discussed enough here, right? The role that spending plays in the outcomes of the elections. And I don't think that this is going to be any different. This election is going to be any different. Money can spend, things can roll.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Spend some money on me.
Yeah, I don't know. No, Jade, what happened is...
No, I'm joking.
We out here trying to act like we have principles and morals and so nobody studying with us. Basically, you got to start acting like you ain't got no principles, Jade.
But that's what I said, though.
Oh.
So what happened?
Well, maybe the politicians...
They're listening.
No, the politicians understand that you are someone of sound mind and have some level of...
Why would they think that?
Oh, but guys, we literally are going to jump in and have a conversation with one of the main players in this entire saga. I don't know exactly what role he would. What you say? He's like a.
I know you're currently unemployed.
Wow.
So you could be here early with us.
Oh yeah, he come in before the show start.
But
Everything.
and maybe he want to win work. I got call upstairs to the FC of the hiring.
Any vacancies?
Yeah.
But guys, we have in studio with us Jonel Powell. Good morning, Jonel. I would ask how you're doing, but is it safe to ask that?
Good morning, all, and I am doing well. I'm giving thanks to God for another day and for life, and to be here in St. Kitts and Nevis right now to serve my people.
Man, I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us this morning. I don't know. My thing is, I don't even know what would be the decisions this morning in terms of, am I going into tons of meetings with the People's Action Movement? Am I going to the constituents? Am I just... And you decided to come hang out with Island Tea, and so I greatly appreciate it.
Well, I always enjoy my time here on Island Tea, and I enjoy, interacting with you guys, and with the listeners. I mean, this is all part of my job.
Let me ask you a question before we even jump into this. You're going to be willing to take calls?
Absolutely.
All right. So, guys, at some point, we'll open up the phone lines so you can have a conversation or join the conversation.
But y'all don't normally give me that option, boy. Y'all really think me got nothing to do now, eh?
I mean, the truth is...
According to the street.
It seems as though your schedule got a little light.
Yeah,
No, the schedule is heavier now because it just means I have more time to spend on the road interacting with constituents so that when the time comes, we can encourage them to make the right decisions.
All right. Well, let's jump into the matters at hand, right? How were you informed that you have been, what's the term? You've been fired? Like, what's the term you're going with?
Boy, some say fired, some say relieved. But the reality...
Are you relieved?
Well, to some extent.
Yeah, I got you.
To some extent. But I heard the Prime Minister's address yesterday. I've not received any
formal.
I've not received a document or any disappointment, any instrumental disappointment as I sit here now. But I heard it on the Prime Minister's.
So you
address.
found out about it the same time the nation found out about it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's interesting because I saw that the Honorable... Is he the Honorable still?
Who?
Mac.
Well, you could if he honorable to you.
I don't know what to... Let's just say Mac. I saw a letter from Mac yesterday, and it was dated from the day before. And it was a letter informing him that he no longer holds the position. So you didn't get a letter?
I have not received any letter up to this
Yeah,
day.
the man say he about it with us, Jay.
Interesting, eh?
You
Maybe
heard
in the
about-
mail. You know how our mailing system could go sometimes.
But I think that when I asked this, was it a surprise to you?
Boy, nothing that happens right now is a surprise, you know. We expected that the Prime Minister would dissolve the Parliament yesterday, bearing in mind that under our rules and orders for the National Assembly, today would have been the last day, according to the rules, because normally you give 5 days notice for sitting in the House Assembly.
Right.
And so today would have been 5 days before the 21st day
Right.
for the motion of confidence to be tabled. And so we expected that the Prime Minister would dissolve the Parliament rather than face a vote of no confidence against him and his government.
Well, let's talk a bit about expectation, because I think that looking at just how things are playing out and the reactions and the movements that we've been seeing over the last few months, sometimes it feels as though the expectations have constantly been shifting. What I mean is, you said you expected yesterday it would be dissolved, and that would have then signaled that general election is on the horizon. At what point did that become the expectation? The reason I'm asking is, I am not sure that when the initial conversations began happening,
The negotiations.
between between, whether it was in cabinet, whether it was between the leaders of the party and the Prime Minister, that this might be where we were ultimately going to end up. What was it after the letters were the demands were put forward that you guys suspected that, hey, this might be where we end up? Was it after the letter to the Governor General that you guys decided, like, hey, this is probably where we're going to end up? Like, at what point did this become the expectation?
Well, you know, once we had signed and delivered that letter to the Governor General saying that 6 of us no longer supported the Prime Minister, then that in itself triggers all of these things to happen. But you know, you make yourself available. Certainly, the leaders, we've all made ourselves available to come to the table and to work this out. That never happened. The 2 political leaders for PAM and CCM, Sean Richards and Matt Brantley, continue to make themselves available. Up to Sean Richards' last statement, he indicated that, look, the door is still open. There have been efforts even since then to come to the table and bring the parties to the table and resolve this. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister and at all those times just obviously was not interested in that. And so we knew at the end of the day, look, this is the likely outcome if you don't have genuine efforts made to come back to the table and really resolve these issues, then elections it is.
Yeah, I think for me as well, like, once the letter was sent to the Governor General, I also suspected that this might be where we were heading in quick time. The only thing that I felt might have held it up would have been how long the Governor General took to respond to the letter. But then after that, you could kind of time out how things were gonna play out. Like you said, after I figured the motion was gonna come shortly after, and then that triggers 21 days, and so
exactly.
you kind of knew what was gonna happen. But if that was the case, one would have hoped, I would expect, that the People's Action Movement, the Concerned Citizens Movement, as well as the other political parties, because they as well are looking on at what is happening, would have begun putting things in place for this eventuality. How would you categorize the position that the People's Action Movement specifically is in, as we now expect a general election?
Well, along with CCM, we would have taken all these different steps, and you don't take steps like that unless you're ready to for your bluff to be called, if you want to put it that way. And so while all these things were happening, we were readying ourselves. And we are now at a point, as I said, we triggered the series of events, and we are now a day into the 90, and we are ready for general election. We have prepared our slate, we have done the work, and we are we've already started hitting the ground, and we continue to do that and prepare to win the next general elections and form a government of the people.
Well, I mean, you're saying that, but I mean, I could speak for me, because as it stands now, as I start to prepare myself to do my civic duty, I don't know who's my candidate from the People's Action Movement. And so with all the preparation, there is stuff still to be put in place. You could give us an exclusive when y'all announcing the full slate.
Yeah, because to be honest, yesterday I looked at a document. Well, I looked at a graphic. It wasn't a document. And I saw that it seems like PLP has a full slate. It seems like Labour has a full slate. But then the document only has 4 PAM representatives on it. So, the people just trying to figure out, like...
I'm waiting for him to tell us when we got in the big launch.
And I get that. I understand that. I would have seen that document. I mean, that's not an official document.
It looks
You can't go based on that.
Yeah.
And so, for example, PLP has not announced a slate of candidates yet either. For sure. It's about timing. Everything is about timing, is about strategy. And we will announce our slate at the time that we find is most appropriate for us. But we are ready.
Okay. The thing for me, though, is when we're talking about election and being ready, earlier I started over, I said that, you can't really, there's things out of your control. You can't, there's things always out of your control. In this particular case, in terms of when the election happens, that card seems to sit squarely in the hand of the Prime Minister. And so is that something that you guys are aware of and thus, taking into your planning? Because we actually have no idea when the election is going to be. And let me say for the record, I believe that's a big misstep and something that needs to be changed. I don't like the fact that that's how it works here, but that's for another day.
Well, this situation is not strange for St. Kitts and Nevis. This is how it's always been. Parliament dissolved, Prime Minister has 90 days within which to hold. Well, we have 90 days within which to hold the elections. The Prime Minister determines when that date will be. I agree it needs to be changed. It's something that we said that Team Unity would do. It is one of the things that PAM and CCM have complained about in terms of the legislative agenda, and said, look, we campaigned and said we're going to put fixed date elections in place. We're going to put term limits for the office of the Prime Minister, all these things. And these are issues upon which we got pushed back during the tenure of the government, and some of the reasons why we are saying, look, things had to change, something had to happen, because we were not fulfilling the agenda that we were given a mandate to fulfill.
Well, let's get back to yesterday's announcements a bit. I found it quite surprising that he, after removing the Honourable Sean Richards, appointed another PAM candidate in his place. Did that come as a surprise to you?
I would admit that was not something I anticipated, but it is within the prerogative of the Office of the Prime Minister to do so. And it is what it is. You disappoint 6 members of the cabinet and then dissolve the House within the same breath. I guess the people have to determine how that looks. I think, well, you compare the St. Kitts to North Korea and a government under Kim Jong-un, where in St. Kitts we've heard about minority governments before, but this goes beyond a minority government where you need 6 persons to form a government. There's Sean Richards who has the support of 6 persons within the parliament, but yet we now find ourselves in a government with only 3 elected, and that smacks dabbing in the face of democracy as far as I'm concerned. From the time that letter was sent to the Governor General indicating that we no longer supported Timothy Harris and that we supported Sean Richards and that he had the support of 6 persons, the honorable thing would have been for the Prime Minister to have resigned at that point in time or dissolved the House at that point in time. But we are living in St. Kitts and he is Timothy Harris, and so it was delayed until yesterday.
Okay, well, Prime Minister aside, did the Honorable Eugene Hamilton consult you guys on his decision to accept or not accept this position given to him?
No, and you bear in mind that when you're going to when you're at the cabinet level, it's not about Pam, and you're there as a member of Parliament, and so he acted on his own in that respect. And look, at the end of the day, the Parliament has been dissolved. We're into election mode now. The people will judge these things the same way the people judge me. He's not facing electorate anymore, I am, and so my focus is not on who is Deputy Prime Minister now, who has what portfolio. My focus is on being re-elected so that I can continue to serve the people of Central Basin to ensure that that agenda that I started on, I get to finish.
Yeah, but playing off of that, you contesting, this seat for constituency number 2, as a member of the People's Action Movement, people are then still wondering exactly what's the state of affairs of the party, how is the party. So when we ask these questions, because for me, I really would like to know, as it stands now, what position, if any, does the Honorable Eugene Hamilton hold within the party?
Well, let me answer this. The party is stronger than ever. We're united as a party. The Honorable Eugene Hamilton still holds the position as deputy political leader of PAM. This is obviously something that just took place yesterday afternoon, and if the party sees it fit to address the matter in-house, we will do so at the appropriate time. But we cannot be distracted by one person. There's a bigger goal. There's a bigger goal in terms of serving the people and getting ready for the next election. As a political party, we're officially in election mode. Eugene Hamilton is running for us again. We can't be focusing on him. We have to focus going forward, focus on the new candidate and ensuring that the new candidate not only retains the seat, but hopefully does better than he did.
Well, 2 quick questions before Jay jump back in. By chance, are you the administrator of the People's Action Movement group chat? And 2, if you are, would you add me? Because I would just want.
Listen, I just want to be
I would have loved to be in that group chat yesterday because.
I think I actually am. I think I actually am an administrator. And so if you want to hold an executive position, we can have that discussion.
Don't try
We welcome everybody,
Hello, don't try by my friend, I'm watching now, you.
The man is
wrong party.
Wrong party.
What you say, Jade?
Oh dear. So well, the reason I asked about that is obvious because he has been a long-standing member of the party, and I'm pretty sure, especially going into each election cycle, he would be somebody that would have, some strong statements or stance. And I just found it strange that, one, he didn't sign the letter given to the Governor General, and also that he did then put out, well, I don't know if he put it out, but we then saw a letter coming from him stating his position on this matter. So I just found it kind of strange that no, after all of that, he was appointed as deputy. But you did mention that not you mentioned, but the Prime Minister mentioned that the House is now resolved. So does that kind of cancel out his new position?
Well, the government continues to run, but based on convention and rules, there are certain restrictions in terms of what can be done during this period, in terms of initiating new policies and doing new things. that would go against the grain of the conventions within our Westminster model. So, okay, you're deputy or you're minister of all these things for a few weeks. If that floats your boat, then so be it. But at the end of the day, the government continues to run.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just listening to you talk and you hear you look good, you sound good, you're talking,
Sorry?
you're obvious. Look, he's obviously the man got his JP too short,
Yeah, as you should.
right? And he has spoken about the fact that his focus now is preparing for the election and going back to the people to retain the mandate to serve them.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it feel? You spoke about the fact that it might have been difficult to do the job that you were given and stuff like that. Even though I must say that I've heard you speak about how much you had been able to achieve in the what it was 27 months, but that somewhere around there.
No, less than that, because it's a year.
So
it's less than 2 years. It's a year and change. Yeah.
Okay. So, I've heard you talk about, even the things that you would have promised your constituents and the progress that you would have made on those things. But how does it feel now knowing that you were on that track? For instance, things like the Basti High School, you had been giving us updates about what was happening there.
Mm-hmm. School just reopened fully.
Schools just reopened. You have the sporting grounds that were now, being put in place, the new... the refurbishment of the park up at New Road, all these things that were like on the horizon, and to now kind of have that be derailed a bit because of what's happening politically. Like, how does that sit with you?
Well, first of all, those things can be derailed. Once they're done, and I've done them. And I think that in itself, the fact that you've been able to identify those things speaks to my performance within the short period. It's almost like you're given 2 hours to write an exam, and 45 minutes into the exam, the examiner comes and says, all right, time up. But up to that 45 minutes, you got all the questions right. And so, it's a bit disappointing, to be honest. I've not had the opportunity to even see half of a term. But I think
Jonel,
during that... Yeah, go ahead.
Just because you said that there, is this some kind of record? Are you now the shortest serving minister?
Well, let me put it this way, it wouldn't be me alone.
Indeed. But you're saying...
But I could say that I've done more in my year and change than some persons have done in an entire term. I think I can proudly say that. So, for example, you talk about Basti High School. The last hurdle with that would have been the insurance policy. That has been done, and they're now preparing. That's been settled, and they're now preparing to start the hoarding. So that has been done. The park at New Road, that has been signed off with the government of Taiwan. They've ordered all this stuff. It's just for it to come in for them to start that. So, these are all things that I've actually completed. I've actually signed off on and got done. CPL has already announced and is coming. Just a few days ago, they announced that St. Kitts will be hosting West Indies versus India on August Monday and Tuesday. All of these are things that I oversaw, negotiated, and so I think my short tenure has proven beneficial to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and particular to those in Central Basti. I mean, CPL alone last year during COVID generated 25 million in direct economic impact in St. Kitts. Imagine what's going to happen this year when we have 31 matches and people can go into the park and people are coming in to visit. It's going to be massive.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned all the great things you've done, and they are great things. Some of them, yes. You can't give us all apparently, but because I remember you guys saying that you were unable to do the job in the full capacity in the way that you wanted to do it. So hearing you say now that you were able to complete all of these things, how did that come about, since you previously said that you guys have been hindered?
Well, let me put it into perspective, because some persons have said, our hands were tied. My hands were not tied. What was happening was certain resources were being tied up by the Office of the Prime Minister. The resources and portfolios which I had that I was over and had access to, I delivered in terms of education. CARICOM recognizes us as doing the best in terms of our education system during COVID. For example, I was identified as the minister leading the charge. I spoke about some of the things in terms of sports. For example, carnival, the fact that we actually were able to have some form of carnival for the last 2 years. So those things that fell within my portfolios, I exceeded in. Now, in terms of resources such as access to the poverty alleviation program, the $500, the PAP, the STEP program, lands, these are things which fall squarely under the office of the Prime Minister. And these are the resources that had been tied up, not accessible by members of cabinet themselves. So when I face the people in Central Bastia, and you ask, if you face them and you ask them, how many people in Central Bastia were able to get on the STEP program in the last 2 years? You're not gonna hear much of an answer. Same thing in terms of the PAP program, because during the last 2 years, we were consistently told as a cabinet that, look, these programs are being audited, they're doing this, they're doing that, and we're going to bring back reports and let you know. But during the period, you're hearing these people in constituency 7 going on, this person who has a certain connection to the Prime Minister have been able to get on these programs. But the general populace, and this is not my version, this is what had been said even publicly at the Prime Minister's press conferences in the media, that these things were being audited and there's a hole, and when they finish, we're going to open up everything. And up until the last time I sat in cabinet, none of these things had been addressed yet.
So you don't plan to send an application for STEP?
No.
I think they're going to accept it.
Bear in mind, I have always renewed my practicing certificate, so I can actually go into court this morning and argue.
Boom bang.
The man say he ain't out of a job.
The man working.
Okay, the man say he side hustle still there. But it's interesting you said up until the last time you were in cabinet. Do you know when that was? Well, do you remember when that was?
I don't recall the exact date off the top of my head. What I can say is since all of this, since we filed, or since we delivered that letter to the Prime Minister, I think over a month ago, indicating that we no longer support Timothy Harris, there have only been 2 cabinet meetings. One was on the 28th of May, which was just before Labor Day weekend. Mm-hmm. The other one was on Monday past. And coming out of the one on the 28th was this whole announcement about increase for civil servants. Mm-hmm. That was something that I sat in a cabinet that we all sat in a cabinet, including Sean Richards, back in October, and decided on. This was not something new. We had decided on that. We had approved a budget which included funding for the increase in salary for civil servants. It was something that came up in budget debates. If you listen to the budget debates, and Sean Richards himself spoke to it. As a matter of fact, this was something initiated by Sean Richards back in October. He was the one who raised this whole discussion and got us to where we are. So, we have been performing. I've been attending. Like I said, the second one was on Monday. Why did I not go, and why did we not go to the last 2? Because having sent that letter to the Governor General saying we do not support Timothy Harris as Prime Minister, we did not think it right to attend a cabinet chaired by him to legitimize or to give legitimacy to him, knowing that he does not control or have the support of a majority of elected members of Parliament. The right thing for him to have done was to have resigned once he found out about that letter. And so we were not going to go and legitimize him.
Well, for people, the average person on the road or the average citizen of the country who may not understand yesterday's decisions, especially when there was a letter sent to remove the Prime Minister, but then that didn't happen, but then he removed the 6 members. Can you, as not in the term of a minister, but in the term of a lawyer, can you explain to the listeners and viewers how that decision was able to be brought forth?
We wrote a letter. 6 of us signed a letter saying, look, we no longer can support Timothy Harris as Prime Minister, we support Sean Richards. Based on a legal opinion that we received from a very senior constitutional lawyer and QC in London, that gave very compelling arguments, we believe, we took that position and presented it to the Governor General along with a copy of that opinion. Our Constitution does not specifically say that it can be done, but it doesn't rule it out. The powers of the Governor General are quite wide, and so we delivered that to him. Coming out of the opinion, that was one of the options that the opinions gave us. The other option was to file a motion of confidence, which we also did. And so we didn't just go on one foot, we went on 2 different legs. And so this is where we're at. And now it does beg the question. We've always said we need to review our constitution, have constitutional reform. And it does beg the question. If you have somebody who controls a majority of persons, and this is not somebody coming from the opposition, this is somebody who's on the government side, who's saying, look, if you have a majority saying, we don't support him as Prime Minister anymore, we support him, all on the same side, why can't the Prime Minister be disappointed and the person continue, and the person who has been identified now continue as Prime Minister? It would have maintained the mandate of the people that we received less than 2 years ago, because it's the same people. All you're doing is shifting the hat of Prime Minister. We don't vote for Prime Minister in St. Kitts and Nevis, we vote for government. And so it begs the question, is this one of the things that needs to be revisited? I think Mark Brantley yesterday in a post on social media said, 6 right to remove 1, but they can't, but 1 can remove 6. Again, we continuously say that the office of the Prime Minister has too much power. This is something that Team Unity campaigned on in 2015 when we said Denzel Douglas in the seat of Prime Minister had too much power. I remember Timothy Harris himself saying publicly that never again should one person have so much power. Boy, I guess until you're that person, it applies.
Mm. But that's a question that has been that's being raised continuously. The fact that a lot of the things that the Team Unity construct kind of campaigned on weren't able to come to fruition. From your standpoint, what would have contributed to a lot of those things? For instance, the constitutional reform, electoral reform, some of these things, even you just mentioned in terms of limiting the powers of the Prime Minister, fixed term limits, etc. Why is it that a lot of these things just didn't happen?
Well, we went into a situation where we thought we all went in on the same page. We all have the same mindset. We all said the same things. And then you go in there saying, all right, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. And then you get in there and you start hearing, well, this is how it's always been done. This is how it has to be. This is how it's... And that is where you start seeing the problems. So how do you go from saying, never again should somebody like Denzel Douglas be able to wield that kind of power in the office of the Prime Minister, and then a few years later turn around and say, well, you have to understand the power and the prerogative of the office is inconsistent. And very often, I could say publicly on at least 2 or 3 different occasions, I myself would have raised the issue of, for example, term limits and making that the first constitutional amendment in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it was just, the can was just kicked down the road. I got excuses as to, the timing not right. Well, we want to look at something else in it, and it kept getting pushed back. So, it's one thing to campaign and say, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but it's another thing when you get the chance to actually go and do it. And this is what we're saying. We were not comfortable sitting in a government which was not prepared to do the things that we said to the people we would do and the things that the people voted us in to do. And we are now saying a PAM and CCN government will do all of these things, not within the term, but within short order, to ensure that going forward, a lot of these issues that we've seen happening over the 40 years of independence we have stop, and that we see a much more equitable system of government going forward.
You see, and I think that a lot of people listening would kind of agree that that is kind of what we would like to see. But the thing is, we've been told this several times, and based on what you're describing, is at the end of the day, what it seems like is if there is a lack of political will by at least even one person within the cabinet, these things they seem like a fleeting illusion. And so how do we get to a place where we can really expect the things that are campaigned on, the things that we vote people into office to do, to actually be achieved, if it seems like such a arbitrary issue where it's like, oh, well, this person or that person just ain't really feeling that. Well, and it don't happen.
Well, and so you understand the frustration of me as a young man, as the youngest member of the cabinet, going in there with fresh ideas, going in there having consulted with our generation, because I was basically the same age. I ain't 40 yet. Going in there and saying, look, boy, yeah, these are the things. We finally get the opportunity to make these changes that we talk about. And then you get pushed back. Oh, no. Let's put off that. And, well, this is how it's always been done. No, that's what we're coming here to do. We're coming here to change things so that it could be better. And so it's frustrating. And that is why, I could have, the rest of us, we could have just sat in there and collected salaries and said, look, well, okay, we're going to change it the next time. But we said, nah, this thing had gone on long enough. These are the things that need to get done. And if people are going to frustrate it because their position and their office wield so much power, then no. Let's go back to the people. Let the people give us a new mandate so that we can get these things done in their interest.
So, with all of this said, and with all of the developments happening over the last couple of months, people would sit back and say, well, since y'all don't feel like what is happening is right and y'all don't have the confidence in the Prime Minister, why not just resign?
Because did the people think it's any was really in the election right now? No. These are things that could have and should have been resolved. And by not resigning, we were able to at least stay in there, and we all continue to work and to do and function as ministers of government up to yesterday. We all did that. And so, as a way of mitigating the circumstances in terms of our readiness as a people for an election, we ensure that you had governance continuing right up until yesterday. As I could tell you, I had a 3 o'clock meeting in my office yesterday. I think we got notice like 5 minutes before the Prime Minister was coming on. By 3:05, I had to call the people and say, "Hey, new venue," So even this nonsense about us being disinterested and not because we didn't attend the 2 cabinet meetings, we had been doing all of the work right down to the end, because that is what the people put us there for. I think it was just on Thursday night. I was at a reception for the Commonwealth Games and the reception of the torch at Governmental, sitting at the table with the Prime Minister. He came later. He greeted me. Sean Richards has continued to perform as the minister had continued to perform as the Minister of Works and all of that right up until yesterday.
Well, you mentioned pushback from the Prime Minister, but was there any pushback from anyone else in the cabinet or in Parliament?
In terms of
any other minister, anyone in there making the decisions, was there any pushback on any of the things that you mentioned? Because you said the Prime Minister delayed some of these things and had pushback.
Well, I just said there was pushback.
Did you say who, actually?
I swore an oath The fact that I'm not a minister now doesn't mean I'm gonna break that oath. I'm simply saying that the office is too powerful, and it allows for things like that to happen. And so we are saying, look, we really need to do what we said we were going to do as a people. Forget PAM and CCM and PLP and Labour now. We need to, these are things that need to be put in check. And somebody needs to do it. We're prepared to do it. We've always been prepared to do it. We've been frustrated in our ability to do some of these things because of certain powers, but the time will come when we get the opportunity very soon to do these things. And I think the people will see, they're going to feel the lightness after that.
So what if we then go back to the polls and the situation happens again? What do we do next?
Well, let me put it this way, After the next general election, I will be supporting Sean Richards as Prime Minister. I believe in my heart of hearts that he will do the right thing. I have absolutely no doubts that he will do it. But God forbid he doesn't do it. I'm going to do the same thing I do now. Because it's not about, for me, it's not about who is Prime Minister. It's about doing the right thing. And so, at the end, all I have is my name and my legacy. And it's not about how long I've been in government for. It's what I've done with the opportunities that I've gotten. I think I've maximized it so far. I've taken a principled stance now, and if I have to do it again in the future, I'll do it again.
And people are asking, what if Sean doesn't win? What happens next?
Well, we go to the next best person.
Who is that?
Well, it could be me. It could be Mark. It could be Lindsay. It could be any one of us. I think any one of us have the capacity to lead this country.
But how does all of this affect the Federation? Because, again, we just came out of an election, and elections are a very daunting task. So how do you think this affects the Federation going back into one so soon?
I don't think anybody really wants to go into an election right now, but that's life. It's upon us, and we have to deal with it. The government continues to run, as it has always done when we go into election periods. Nothing has changed. The government, the people would have given us a mandate less than 2 years ago. And so I would hope that they vote again based on those principles, understanding who is serious about implementing the policies and who isn't, and make the right decisions going forward. For me, in Central Basti is about a plan. I've presented a plan to the people of Central Bastia. I've actually shown that I can deliver on the plan as best as I can with the resources that are given to me. And having had the benefit of being in government, I know I'm able to expand on that plan and present an even larger, more enhanced plan to the people of Central Bastia. I can't say anybody that is coming up against me has put any plan to them yet. And so that is what my focus is on now. It's about giving the people, you guys spoke about it in the intro. It can't be about who come and give you no money before, a couple of days before the election. It can't be about buying people. Otherwise, is it illegal? Plus, is it just a breakdown of our democratic system? And if that's the case, then we can end up with some real messed up governments if all we're doing is buying elections all the time. I have faith that the majority of people will think positively, will think based on the issues, and will follow proper plans that are presented to them and vote based on that.
All right, man. I think that what you just mentioned in terms of the race for constituency number 2, I think that is one that people are really looking at. As you said, the People's Labour Party has not officially launched a candidate in that constituency. There has been, serious speculations as to who may. But the Labour Party has. Now, given the speculations and what we do know, it does seem as though people feel that constituency may be one of the more keenly contested constituencies. You, from what you are observing and what you're hearing from the constituents, do you hold that same viewpoint?
Central Bastia has always been keenly contested. Well, for the most part, it has always been one constituency that always has a lot of focus on it. I feel quite confident in my re-election there. I feel I'm not taking anything away from any candidate or potential candidate. You don't take anybody for granted in politics. I think that was a mistake they made with me. I was taken for granted in 2015 and showed what I could do. And by 2020, I won by 235 votes, coming from 500 before, 500 down before that.
Right.
And so I don't take anybody for granted, but at the same time, I have confidence in my message, confidence in my representation over the last year and a bit. So for me, it's not about renting a crowd. It's about actually touching people, understanding what their needs are, giving them hope, giving them a plan, and going along that journey with them to achieve the aspirations that they have for themselves.
I mean, I'm looking at what is happening, and the past few weeks, I actually had the opportunity to travel. I was out of the Federation for a few weeks, and this is obviously a big talking point in a lot of different other Caribbean islands. At least from the outside, let's speak about the outside first. There's a image that St. Kitts is doing well. We handled the pandemic admirably. We were able to give support to citizens in a time that no one expected to be dealing with what we were dealing with. People are looking at development. I was in St. Thomas and in the British Virgin Islands, so they have a big population of Kittitians or people of Kittitians descent. So they're very interested in what's happening here. But from the outside, a lot of people felt as though, to actually give a direct quote, the country running good. So how do you deal with that that almost that juxtaposition where it's like we're here saying that, hey, things weren't running good, but for a lot of people that seems to be the opposite of what they see.
I could never sit here and say that we didn't have major successes on the team unity. We had absolute major successes. A lot of things were going well. But at the same time, beneath that, there were hundreds, if not thousands, there were hundreds of persons in my constituency who were still unemployed, who are struggling to put food on the table. As good as the country is running, there were too many people whose lives were not commensurate with things good. Certainly my constituency, I can speak about it across the country, thousands of people still unemployed. We have good social programs, but for how long we can come and tell a man, boy, stimulus, we can give you $1,000, we can give you a handout for 2-3 months at a time. From my knowledge being a minister of government, there were so many other projects that we could have had on track and had happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, from hotel projects to other projects that would have created employment opportunities and that would have put money in people's hands. And for various reasons, that was not happening. It's one thing to look good outside, and it's one thing to say we have a lot of money in the bank, but how much money do we have in the bank as a federation? And if we have all this money, why is it not trickling down to the people that need it the most? And these are some of the issues that I certainly, as an individual, as a representative, as a minister of government, had to think about in making my decision to be at this position now. Yeah, we did well. 25 million in direct income from CPL. And yeah, a lot of people got jobs. People in Central Bastia got jobs, but not everybody could participate in cricket, for example. And so we want to ensure that the people who need the assistance people who are most needy actually get the benefits of that prosperity and not just a handful of select people getting everything.
Well, someone wants to know, besides the tint, I think they mentioned something about a tint bill being passed in Parliament. They want to know what other landmark legislation did you guys take to Parliament?
When, as in this last term, or in general in Team Unity?
In general.
Well, the first one I could talk about is the motion of no confidence. Otherwise, we might not be here today. So I can speak about that. But there are a number of piece of legislation that I think made a difference. I mean, we can look at things like the COVID bill, think what you may about it, but the same success that we've been that has been poured on us, certainly from outside, has been on the back of that COVID-19 bill. That is what really allowed us to manage the pandemic as well as we did during that 2-year period. The tint bill makes me laugh. And you know, there were other pieces of legislation, I think, that were enhanced. For example, the integrity in public life, that was enhanced. Information in freedom of information. Again, the legislation is there, but if you don't implement it and give it the teeth, then you don't get the outcome that you really need to achieve.
Well, somebody else also wants to know about the world-class boardwalk with shops at the waterfront. Is that still happening?
It is definitely still on my agenda for Central Bastia and for Bastia in general. Obviously, that could not be done in a year and change, but it is certainly still on the table. I recently met with I could say an investor who has gone so far as to actually get in touch with engineering firms, and major international engineering firms. They have actually done up an initial sketch of what that could look like along the Irish Town Bay Road. During my tenure, I met, and up until yesterday, I have met with a number of different stakeholders, and from urban planning to engineers to this to that, to discuss the general redevelopment and revitalization of Bastia, which really encompasses central Bastia and the Irish Town Bay Road. And just to give a sneak peek, part of the enhancement of my own plan for Central Bastia, and that, because that was the main platform that I ran on in terms of being able to clean up a lot of these empty lots and abandoned buildings, is the establishment of a Bastia Development Corporation, which would oversee all of this. And so the boardwalk remains a major part of that, the redevelopment of the public market and the ferry terminal. Funny enough, the Ministry of Tourism for the last 5 budgets has consistently requested funds to do redevelopment of the ferry terminal and all the booths and all of that, and the public market, and for 5 years they've not received 1 cent to do that. It also includes, if you go down to the cenotaph there's a strip, where there's like the rock pier for the groin. Beyond that, there's actually a beach down there, And so part of my redevelopment plan is to enhance that beach, clear away some of the mangrove, not the mangrove, the trees, enhance that beach, and create some form of a strip with some bars and commercial space right there. So all of that has been added to that Central Bastia development plan that I've presented to the people.
All right, well, Jonel, I appreciate what we've said so far, but guys, we're going to have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll ask Jonel to, field a couple questions, hear from the people, see exactly what you guys are saying. So thanks for that. But guys, we're going to take a short break and be right back with more Island Tea right here on Media SKN. Stick and stay.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Track is back! Track is back! That's right! Track is back! SKN Athletics and Rams present the first ever primary school relay championship. Come and witness over 20 primary schools vie for the title. The championships take place on Sunday, May 15th at the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium from 1 p.m. Tickets are $25 for the Kim Collins Pavilion, $10 for the grounds and stands. Children under 12 pay only $5. Grab your tickets from Rams Supermarket, Bay Road, St. Kitts. It's the Rams Primary School Relay Championship. Check it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Island Tea right here on Win Media SKN. It's Hump Day.
Indeed.
And we're in here talking to the man himself, Jeppy2 Jonel Powell, just about the recent developments in St. Kitts and the political landscape here. Of course, guys, we've been saying that, well, he's agreed to take some calls and just talk to the people, answer some of your questions, field some of your comments. And so for those of you who want to call in and don't know the numbers are 465-0989, 662-0989, and 762-0989. The calls have been coming in, and so we'll jump right into it. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island T. What's up?
Good morning to you and your guests. I think we're in this political mess because of governance issues, which the Team Unity promised to address and have not. The ex-Deputy Prime Minister Richards and Premier Mark Brantley have belatedly raised these issues again recently. But listening to you, Mr. Powell, what I hear is a commitment to the old-style political patronage system. I mean, you complain, for instance, about not being able to put people on step or PAP. These are government programs which should not require the intervention of a politician for citizens to benefit once they meet the proper criteria set up. And the concern is that you are essentially advocating for the status quo, even as you express dissatisfaction with it. Okay, the old transactional type politics which the Prime Minister has perfected, okay? It is evident that the coalition partners and politicians don't trust each other. Well, why should the electorate trust you all now? It seems a matter of convenience to say now that you will do these things that you promised to do but didn't, right? And isn't it, I mean, you've had your chance, you messed up. Well, maybe a fresh set should come in and try to change things. Okay? In other words, we need to change, keep the politicians accountable to their promises, and change and keep changing governments until we get the change we want. Isn't that a better approach? Because otherwise we cannot keep saying the same things every election cycle, promising to do the same things, right? Because you know it's the right thing to do, but then you get into power and you don't. So we shouldn't reward failure, right? We should punish it. Get the next set. If they mess up, well, you change them too. That's my view.
All right, caller, thank you for your contribution.
I'll respond to Mr. McMahon because I really didn't expect much better from him. Is the same old script regardless of what is actually said. I never said that I couldn't get people onto this step. I said my constituents did not have access to this step program, and I agree with you. You shouldn't have to go to a politician to be able to get on step. This thing, and they have this thing going on, and people out there know. You go to apply for a step job or you go to apply to get onto the PAP and they tell you, you must go to your representative. Or even for a piece of land, you must go to your representative for them to sign the form. That's absolute nonsense. The forms don't provide a space for a representative or politician to sign it. So why am I signing it? Once you qualify, you should then be considered like everybody else. And these are the things that we are saying. Look, nobody came and elected us, and voted us out, Nobody kicked us out, We took a principled stand to say, look, the things that should be done are not being done because of these reasons. And so we are no longer participating in this government. I understand now that you go to the Ministry of Sustainable Development, you can't get a form to get a piece of land anymore. But you could go to the PLP office at the top of 4th Street and get a form for anything you want. These are the things that should not be allowed. And these are the things that must be changed. I agree with you, Mr. McMahon, but don't twist it. I should not have to put anybody on step. You should be able to go down and get on if you're qualified. All I'm saying is my constituents did not have the fair access to it, and I stood up for them.
Just to jump in and clarify something, because I feel like the viewers got something misconstrued. I wasn't laughing at the caller. I was laughing at the fact that...
Well, I was going to get to that,
Yeah, I wasn't laughing at the caller, man.
I was going to get to that,
I was
Jade.
laughing at something that just happened.
And I'm happy.
Live.
I'm happy that it happened live, and I'm live on
yes.
Yeah, man, you
okay,
can
good.
show them again. You can show
So
them
I'm
again.
live on the internet too, so people could see on video, and you all are the world is my witness. I have just Jade served me.
No, don't say that.
And I'm going to assume
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that somebody just came here and gave you this to give to me.
Yeah,
am I right, Jade?
Just drop off the letter to Win FM Studios.
Yes.
Okay, a letter,
I went
an
outside
envelope was just dropped off to Win FM. It said confidential, the Honorable Jonel Powell. You all saw me on just now open it up, it tape up. And in this letter, which I just received, is my walking papers.
That's what I was laughing at.
My instrument of disappointment dated
Live on nearby.
Boy,
the 9th
that caught
of
me
May.
off
So
guard. What?
He did say he
I
hadn't seen
told
anything.
I said it up until when I came in here. I had not received a letter, an instrument of disappointment. Well, I guess I just got fired live on
Island
on
exclusive.
on the internet. Man, Win
Listen.
FM should pay me for this kind of exclusive. There you go.
Bye.
See, I ain't telling a lie.
I'm telling you. Well, let's see what the callers have to say. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island T. What's up?
Good morning, folks.
Morning.
Yes. Listening to the minister, right? Let me continue to say the minister. This is my respect to the gentleman, right? Every time we're hearing about people not being able to get a job, who they're trying to get a job for is always the small person, the man who they're trying to get a minimum wage job for. And we always hearing that, they've been blocked by somebody else. But how come the people who they want to get a job for, gotten a job for, getting the big salary, we never hear that person has been blocked. We only hear a memo come out and saying Minister A or Minister B or C would have appointed Mr. Tree to this position or Mrs. Branch to that position. We never hear that those big people who get in these big monthly salaries being blocked by anybody else who they're trying to appoint. But every time they try, it's a job for a small man to make a minimum wage. Why we can't get, because I send a letter to, and me and get back no answer yet, These are the things we are always hearing, not just now by this government, but even the government before. The small man always the problem, or the hardest to get a job. But the big people, the big friends or family or whoever the other persons be to them or whatever they be to them, never have a problem in getting a job. We hear, Mr. John was the manager for this area. No, he's not the manager for that area, but he's the CEO for that area over there, a bigger job. He moved from a super one and he gone up the ladder. And there has been never a problem by anybody to stop them from getting that person the job. But every time it's a job, a minimum wage job for a small person, by again me hand tie, or they tell us that they're working on it, and every time I check, nothing seems to be done. But not for the big people who they want to get a job for. And I heard the minister also saying that his hand never wasn't. It wasn't a matter of his hand being tied, right? But it was about financing. They're not getting the finances that they want to, or they would have liked to get, or they should have gotten to do projects that they wanted to do. But in the Ministry of Education, during the budget debate, I hear the same minister say that this has been the money that was allocated to the Ministry of Education would have been the most ever, right? So how, if that has been the most ever, isn't the minister and his PS and different people during the ministry would have asked for that amount of money and gotten what they got, or did they ask for more and just gotten that, even though it has been the high? I was just listening and hear, because the people out here, we are listening and we are following what's going on. Even before you tell us, we don't know. And when I say all you, I mean every single one of you, every 9 of you. We know what's going on. So coming now and saying, nobody could come now and, with at least with me, and point the finger at nobody, because Starship, so when you point one, four is pointing back at you. So what, I don't look at the 4 that is pointing back at you and trying to figure out what the 4 is telling me about you. So let me say, election is going to be held. We'll see who is the better horses in the race. Have a nice day, sir.
All right,
Thank
so
you, Carlo.
when you start to speak about larger positions, obviously you have more minimum wage positions than and as you get high up the scale, the number of positions at different levels reduce, and so it can get so specific that people can decipher exactly who and what you're talking about. I don't think whether your minimum wage or top of the scale, a constituent is a constituent. But so I can speak to big positions that have been frustrated and appointments that have been frustrated. I can honestly say that I requested and had approved a person to act as a special advisor to the Ministry of Education, to my portfolio, the Ministries of Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. It had been approved. The person was actually told that they could start on the 14th of June of last year, and that, the paperwork would get done. And to date, and that was maybe 6 months after I had initially approached the powers that be to have this person appointed. And to date, that person can't get appointed. To date, that person has actually done work for the ministries in good faith and can't get appointed, can't get paid, can't get anything. So it does happen at the high levels. It's not everything that I come out that we come out and discuss, because obviously you want to keep certain persons' information, quiet. I didn't call specific names as to who didn't get on step from who get on step. But it happens at all levels. And in terms of the budgets and all that, yes, the Ministry of Education got the largest budget ever, but at the same time, you'd appreciate that it had the most demands on it than ever before, particularly due to COVID and all the additional things that we've had to put in place. But again, our budgeting system is something that needs to change. I was astonished when I got in the government to find out how this budgeting process goes. You had set a week for estimates, and all the ministries come in and they present to the ministers in cabinet along with a team from finance and a team from sustainable development. And you say, okay, well, I'm requesting X positions and X new positions and money for this and money for that. And then after that, the ministries of sustainable development and finance go in a room and they decide who can get what. And so a practical example is the Ministry of Tourism has been trying to push. I spoke about the ferry terminal and the work at the ferry terminal and the public market for 5 years now. They haven't received. They've also been trying to push to get a Kalinago village at up there by Bloody Point. They've spoken about it and as a local tourist attraction and all that. They haven't got monies for that, but they got allocated monies for Black Rocks, which they didn't ask for. And so even our budgeting process needs to change, needs to be reviewed so that we can properly serve the country through the various portfolios.
Well, there's another question coming in from a viewer. They said that you basically had Ministry of Sports, knowing what had happened since 2015 when we could not have had international matches in Warner Park because of the light issue. An issue that was caused by your leader, Honorable Sean Richards, who took the lights to SP that were ordered for Warner Park. We are now 2 years since you have been Minister of Sports, and we are still in the same conditions and worse. They said that you sat in the park on Wednesday and watched it, and not for the first time. And what do you have to say to that?
Well, they're talking about the lighting on the football field. And the issue of the football field has been, I don't want to say one of contention, but although there has been quite a bit of contention in the past, but it has been a struggle somewhat. And that is due to the arrangements between the Department of Sport and the Football Association and who is responsible for what. And that arrangement has broken down and has morphed into so many different things over the years. You had a new minister and administration in sports and a new administration in the Football Association, and it was something that we have discussed. We have a basic understanding of how we would like to see that relationship go forward and that arrangement, but at the same time, it is difficult to go and spend, and those lights cost a lot of money. It is difficult to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a facility that is not being used at the point up until recently. I think the football only just started back last week. And so it is difficult to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a facility that technically could not be used at the point in time, particularly when you still had an outstanding arrangement. But I think for the next budgetary cycle, that can easily be addressed now, because I think everybody's on the same page. Football has restarted, and the commitment from both sides is now there to regularize the arrangements in terms of that facility. There's so much that can be done with that facility once you have the two working together, which has not always been the case.
Yeah, all right, thanks, Jonel. We have some more people trying to get in on the conversation on the phone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live on LNT. What's up? Lost that one, but of course, someone's there to pick up the slack. Good morning, caller. You're live on LNT. What's up? Okay, seems like we've lost that caller. Feel free to to jump back in with your questions, guys.
And while we're on the football facility, one of the things that we had also agreed was that we're very cautious in terms of spending large amounts on that particular facility, because as it stands, anybody who goes to football in the park knows that whole facility backwards. And when I say backwards, it is backwards in terms of even how it is laid out. The pavilion is on the wrong side, for example. The pavilion is as far as I'm concerned, and persons agree with me, that whole pavilion needs to be demolished. The field needs to be pushed back to the west, and we put a new pavilion on the eastern side facing west to start.
I could agree.
And so that requires go ahead.
Well, caller, you've been holding. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I have a question for the minister. Good morning to everybody there.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I have a question for the minister. Right now that you and the others, your minister, are sacked, you have not served 2 full terms. You have served a term, and let's say almost a half. Are you entitled to a gratuity now, or because you have not served 2 consecutive full terms? So are you entitled to a gratuity? And if for some reason that you get back into government, would they take those terms you already served and add them together as 2 terms and entitle you to gratuity? That's the question I have, because of the fact that I hear it banding around me. So that at the start should ask the question. Thank you.
All right, thanks, caller.
So let me start with the least of the apostles. Those like me who were only elected a year and something ago would not be entitled to any pension. Those who were elected in 2015 for the first time would have been eligible for, I think it is a 50% pension in June of next year. Those who were elected in 2010 or before who were elected in 2010 would have been eligible for a 75% pension in June of next year, and I think it's only Timothy Harris who would have been elected before 2010.
Right.
Well, Sean Richards as well. Those who were elected before 2010 are already eligible for the 75% pension. If you get re-elected, yes, the years are added on to what you would have served already.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Jonel, I think that there are a lot of people who are looking on at this entire situation, and they really are aching for some resolution. They want it to be over with. Some people, as much as they say they weren't ready for an election, they say, well, this is where we at, bring election, let me get it over with.
At this point.
I agree to
Okay, so that was my thing. I mean,
I agree, and like I said from earlier, Clark, I don't think anybody wanted a general election right now. I don't think it is the best
like the
thing for the country, but at the same time, we could not continue on the path that we were on. There was ample opportunity for resolution, and that was not done. And so we are where we are, and we know as a people we're forced to go back to the polls. And I hope that, and I have confidence in people to make the right decisions to ensure that we don't find ourselves in this position again.
Right.
We gotta learn from our experiences and from our history, and move forward.
Right. Well, we have another call on the line. Caller, good morning. You're live on LNT. Talk to us.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator. How are you doing?
Morning. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here listening to the minister, or former minister, for some time now. I still call him minister. And the more I listen to him speak, the more it shows up the weakness of the 6 or 7 against Timothy Harris. And when I hear him speak about not having finance for certain things, I'm wondering, how is it that these guys go into Parliament every year, support a budget, support allocations, when they are saying that they did not get enough and what they wanted was not approved or was approved and not given to them by the Prime Minister, after that he and his people go into the room and discuss and come back out with something else. Why would you go into Parliament and vote yes that I support this when you know that at your caucus meeting, whatever the meeting is called, we discuss that for this department they want $100, and then the Prime Minister come back and give 75 or 60, and you go into Parliament and approve this and said to me as an electorate that this government is doing something wonderful? How do you do that? And then how could, since 2015, Sean Richards told us that the team unity broke down and the Prime Minister was showing bad faith, and you stuck with him until he fired you? I mean, I am grossly disappointed in hearing what he said, and also listen to Mark what he said, and Sean Richards, and realize that Harris has been a dictator to these guys, according to them, and treating them like they are children. And they sat there for 7 years, and every budget they support this man. So they deceived me as an electorate, and because of this, I wouldn't support Jonel, and I will support none of the six, and I will encourage everybody not to support them, because they disappoint us, they fail us. As the people of St. Kitts Nevis, we put a trust into your hands, and 6 of you allow one man, Timothy Harris, to dictate and broke down the moral and control, basically destroy the fabric of the political thing. The first bill that you go into the Parliament to debate is a bill to give appeasement to the United States. What happened to the good governance? If you had passed those, there's no way Harris could have been dictating you all. But all of you sat down there and listen, it's amazing the failure of the Team Unity administration. And I hold each and every one of you responsible for this failure. Thank you.
All right, thanks, caller, for your contribution. Any comments, John?
Well, this is why it's important for us to listen, especially at this time, to what people are saying, so that we can make proper judgment and proper decisions. I did not say that we didn't get anything we wanted. I spoke about need to reform the budgetary process. I also said that education, for example, got the biggest budget it ever has had because of the need. And so we got what we wanted. In a budget you can get is impractical. It's not every new position that I wanted within my portfolios I was able to get. But you work with what you have, because everybody can't get at the same time. I might not get it this year. Agriculture might get something. Next year might be my turn. That is how it goes. And so I think it's a bit disingenuous to say, well, we ain't get anything. At the end of the day, we have to respect each other's opinions, and you support who you want to support. I don't see it as weak or staying until he get rid of us, so to speak. I guess he was weak if he stuck with Dougie for 18 years until he was dismissed. But that's not how it should be looked at. I think at the end of the day, judge me on my performance, judge me on what I've done, and I will stay true to that.
All right, Jonel, thank you so much. But we have someone else trying to get in on the conversation. Good morning, caller. You're live on Island T. What's up?
Hi, good morning. I want to disagree with one of your callers just a while ago. I think with the budget that some of the ministers got, they did amazing work. Oh, my goodness. When I think about the success of the CPL, the Patriots won. A team like the Patriots, you beat Jamaica, you beat Barbados, you beat Trinidad and Tobago, you beat Guyana. That's amazing. With the budget that you have, when I think about the work of tourism, that being respected in the entire Caribbean because of the work, with a small little budget, my goodness, what if they had a real budget? What would they do? So I look at all these things, and in education and in culture, when I look at the music festival, where, they had over like 1 million views on the Twitter page, so that they were like within the number 10 in the world and was hitting those kind of numbers with a small budget. What if they had the real budget? They will do amazing work. So I am truly grateful that we see this level of performance, and hopefully, we'll have something like that going forward. I just hope for my country. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, caller. Appreciate your contribution. Jonel, we're going to take one more quickly before we allow you to respond. Good morning, caller. You're live on LNT. What's up? Oh, well, yeah. So any response to that previous caller, Jonel?
No, other than say thank you for, the support and the acknowledgement. I'm not here to bash anybody. I'm here to talk the truth. I've not attacked anybody, ain't cussed nobody. I have nothing personal against.
Apparently, that's a good strategy,
Yeah, well, apparently, I have nothing personal against Timothy Harris at all. I think he has made a significant contribution to the country. I just think that, your time is up now.
All right, got you. Well, we have another caller. Caller, good morning. You're live on LNT. What's up?
Yeah, good morning to the general public listening across the whole world, and good morning to the honorable gentleman there. He did mention something quite back there in the first term on freedom, that it's not automatic that the Prime Minister, Timothy Harris, will be Prime Minister after 2020. And if that was being made clearer before 2020 election, we would have known better and we would have not been in this situation here. But he walked it back, and went to the election with the help of Timothy Harris to win the seat in each and every seat Unity win. So that's why they have to keep them out short. Timothy win the seat for them. They don't fool nobody, honorable gentlemen. If it never for Timothy, that seat in Central would have gone down the same way how 2015 went down. They would have never get a hand on that deal. And they would have never get a name to those other seats there in whatever consistency they want. And in going forward, they need to understand they are the mashing up the people's action movement and people who voted for them for the party election twice. They're not going to vote for them. Have a good day, nice people.
All right, caller, thanks for your contribution. Any comments, Jonel?
Not really, everybody has their opinion, and you have to respect their opinion. I could tell you, I was the one who bust my tail to win that seat, not Timothy Harris. He won his seat, I won mine. Right. It's a team effort, and we seem to forget that. We keep focusing on this one person do everything, this 10 man in one, and this one man holding the O1 country. Nah, we all have our roles to play, and we all contributed. I was the one who walked the length and breadth of the constituency number 2 and continued to do so in order to win it.
Right. Good morning, caller. You're live on LNT. Talk to us.
Yeah, hello, man. Bless.
Yes, all right.
Yeah. Serious concern in the country, thank you. And never. These people, so, putting up themselves to be leaders. They got to learn. This is Jonel, and I respect Jonel Powell here, right? But if the Mac Knight is a place for warriors, you hear me? And Mac Knight is a place that I never want to Jonel Powell pitching marble, playing tap over, nothing in Mac Knight. I would like to know how this man come to represent Mac Knight warriors then. You know what I mean? And what happened here again? The park, the kiddies park of New Road here. The man abandoned the people in park, right? And the man say how some Taiwanese or other people come. Why black people got to serve themselves? If he's so concerned about people, why you can't take the money out of his pocket and fix the park? You know what the power that them people they do? They want every minute they're going on plane, they're going to Dubai, they're going to London or what critic game. That's why Timothy Harris deal with them like that. Because they're ready for this country, and I need to take it again. I don't want to get frustrated with you. I respect guys. You always see that you're dealing with the fancy talking. You check, you're a good fancy talker, but you ain't got the action to think it. Please asking you, and you for y'all, stop playing with this you think it, you know what I mean? And let us get a good leadership in this country. And the people that are taking the law by the stick. And the thing you do, you see that the lack of Raman, Shaq, and here represent Shaq. Shaq is a born Nigerian, you check? And Shaq, what a man, you want to go and sit with him and arrest Shaq and no bench, no overnight, not at all. Shaq is one of the most humblest man in French. And it hurt me hard to see that I lock up the youth and the other people them. You want to go and sit with that day, because I the thing think it's around here. And I ain't lock up them. And that's why he said, can't support all because I'm a man like all to graduate. And I he's a broke man and I happy. I want money left with the people. I can't be happy. Come on,
to go and apologize to Ram and Shaq. You, Jonel Powell, if you want to represent the Mac people. Yeah, man, respect, man. Bless.
All right, thanks, Carla, for your contribution.
Yeah.
Jonel? Well, I don't know apologize for Shaq. I ain't lock up Shaq. I have nothing to do with that. Yeah, you know, is again, if we gotta elevate the level of debate. Again, everybody has their own opinion. So I'm not knocking anybody's opinion. But I mean, see me pitch. Look, everybody is established. Everybody know I come from Matnick, so I don't need to defend that. The only thing I would respond to is the New Road Park, and I call it some Taiwanese. What we seem to forget is it is the Taiwanese government that funded that provided the funding for that park in the first instance. The park had not been done properly and suffered certain infrastructural damage, land slippage and different things. It became unsafe. Apart from that, if you go up there, you see all the sinkholes and all of that on the ground. You see all the pavements broken. Apart from that, because of exposure to the elements, the actual slides and the equipment were damaged and became dangerous for children. That is why the park had been closed. I agree that I think his environment, who was responsible for at least maintaining and cutting the grass, wasn't doing the best job, but that's besides the park. The park was unusable for a number of reasons. It is through my lobbying that the Taiwanese government has agreed to reinvest in that particular facility. And because it is them they're putting the money, they have a construction company on the ground who actually did that new park in Nevis. They're gonna be using the same company to do that. It's their money, their resources they're putting into it. And so that is why they're the ones doing it. It's their money, their resources. You know, they have given an agreement to see, how they can incorporate a few locals into the process. But a man give you something free, you can't make all the demands at the same time. I think we rather than making it a political issue, we should be thankful of the assistance coming from Taiwan. They've continued to assist us in a number of different ways, and let's just support the reestablishment of that park for the benefit of not just the people in Central and New Road, but people from all over, kids from all over going and using that. Let's just support it.
Yeah. Jonel, I think that we have heard from the callers, and also we've seen comments that some seem to be supportive of the actions you guys have taken. Some obviously are not, and like you said, everybody has their own opinions. But there seems to be a certain narrative coming out from those who may not have been fans of the decision taken by the CCM and the People's Action Movement. And what I've seemed to be hearing is it displays a certain level of weakness in terms of being able to push things through the cabinet. It also speaks to a lack of strategy. It seems like there's a lack of strategy in terms of how this whole thing was approached. What do you say to those people? And if it is any other criticisms that you would have heard either from your constituents or just supporters, how would you address those concerns and those criticisms?
Well, everybody has their own view and opinion on different things. My strategy is my strategy. You can't tell me what is in my best interest in terms of strategy. A lot of people saying, oh, well, y'all complaining. And had we come after the 2020 election and said, you know what? Yeah, we said before the election we ain't support Timothy, but you know what? Forget that. We ain't gonna support him now. The same people would have string us up for
being disingenuous,
for lying, and for going against all word. Oh, you say you're going to support the man and you ain't supporting the same people. And so I understand that in politics, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But at the end of the day, I have to make decisions based on what I think is right and based on my own conscience. You could talk when you're in the kitchen and feeling the heat, You could talk when you don't have to make the decisions. But the people of Central Bastia elected me for a reason, and I have to stay true to that reason. And if it means that I have to take actions that may, well, I guess I'm fired now, so I get my papers finally. So I ain't getting a salary. If I have to take a decision that results in me not getting a salary, then so be it. Once it's on principle and once it's based on something that I believe in and that I think is in their best interest. Because they're getting paid still, So it can't be about the money. If it was about the money, I would have sat down in there and said, well, boy, let me sit down here and toe the line and collect my check too. It's not about that. It's about taking a principled stand, and in my case, for what is in the best interest, or what I think is in the best interest of the people of Central Bastia. They put me in here to make decisions on their behalf, and that's what I'm doing. I have lobbied for funding to start the program to clean up these empty lots and abandoned buildings. There's been a lot of talk, but nothing coming forward. I need to be able to push that going forward. I tired walking with the technocrats now up to, when was it? Friday. We did a walk through Irish Town and the Bay Road and thing, a whole set of technocrats and all of that. And I'm saying I need to be in a position to do more than just walk through now. I shouldn't have to be the minister to effect these things. I'm a representative of a part of the government, and we work with each other. And that is what a team is supposed to be. So, at the end of the day, everybody has their opinion. You vote based on your opinion. But I am coming straight to you. I could have sat in there and for the rest of the term and maybe try to get that be on in line to get that pension that they're talking about. But I rather take a stance now. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Right, correct. But Jonel, I know there's people who want to get in on the conversation even more, but of course, we don't have unlimited time. No, people might feel like you do, but as you said, right now the work begins in terms of preparing for the upcoming election and putting your case to the people. Mm-hmm. And so we expect to hear more about that, not only from yourself but the other candidates in the People's Action Movement. But quickly, as time is fast spent, it's already after 10 o'clock. Is there any final words you want to leave with our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely. Let me say thank you to you guys for having me on this morning and to the callers, the writers, for interacting. I think it is always important to hear what people have to say. Whether you agree with them or not, whether they agree with you, is important to know how people think and how people feel. That's the only way you can represent them properly and accordingly. And so thank you to all of you who participated. I look forward to being back here and engaging you going forward. From a party standpoint, the People's Action Movement will be declaring their full slate very shortly, so you can look out for that.
Boom, bam.
And I would like to use this opportunity to invite all to the opening of my new constituency office this Friday at 5 o'clock.
Things are happening.
Absolutely. So it is right across the street from the old one. So we are actually on Greenland's Park now, right where the old Venezuela embassy used to be.
Right, nice.
So that is the new JP2 office. So all invited to come out on Friday. We have a short ceremony and some entertainment and obviously refreshments and all of that.
Vibes.
And vibes, pure vibes, and a good opportunity to come see the office, see some of the things that I'm going to be offering to the people in terms of the plan and all that. I can't let out everything just yet.
Of course.
But, we're going to, look, the train moving, and hop on board, because if it's one thing we know, Timothy Harris won't be Prime Minister after the next election. One thing we know, JP2 going to be re-elected in Central Bastia, and Pam and CCM will be forming the next government. And that is how we are going to carry out that agenda that you gave us a mandate to do this time, and I know you'll give us a mandate to carry out after the next election in a couple of weeks. So Friday, Greenlands Park, JP2 office.
All right.
Yeah, the people going to be there.
Well, Jade,
Jonel,
of
please
course.
don't leave yet. I have to.
Lord, you got another.
I might have something
you,
else
you,
for
you
you.
want
Another letter for you.
What's Megan for the first one? Who do I speak to get my money? Because I feel like somebody owe me some money for delivering this letter.
I don't even know.
I don't even know who it is.
You're on bailiff now.
And man, I didn't even know.
Man, but Jonel, again, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And
Anytime.
I think you presented yourself well, and making yourself accessible to the people. I think we could always, admire that for sure. So look forward to what's next for you, what's next for the People's Action Movement. Of course, guys, you've been invited to the opening of Business Constituency office. So take a pass, see what's going on. Man, say vibes.
Vibes.
All right, but Jade, time is fast spent and we have to go. But of course.
Yes, but quickly before we go, we just have to tell you guys, stick and stay to Win FM. We have lots of exciting things happening today, right after the show. We
Like
have
what?
Money Matters.
Right now? Right now, money.
We're sticking on script here.
Yeah.
Money matters in the country right now, so we are going to have a discussion with that coming up next. Then right after that, we have a very interesting episode of Voices. Devon will be joined with
I'm sure
Talk
it will be.
Puppy.
Yeah, you understand?
Mr. Jupont will be on with Devon.
Oh, Talk Up. Come in. Okay.
So guys, you do not want to miss that. Stick and stay to Win FM. We have music in the afternoon to entertain you right down into the evening. So guys, remember, keep your dials to Win FM. We have things for you.
All right, guys. Well, guys, those of you who have joined us on the digital platforms, whether it is Facebook, YouTube, TuneIn, WhenMediaSKN.com, or otherwise, we appreciate you. All the people who have been listening on your radios, big up yourself one time. You all are the real MVPs. Make sure you turn it up loud, disturb some
man.
people. Yeah. Every morning, 8 to 10.
Oh,
To the max.
Yes, and before we
Okay,
go,
then.
I have one other announcement. Mr. Mac Drip Brantley will be on with us tomorrow morning.
Jade.
Yeah, I've been working.
People of the tea, bye. People of the tea. Friend of the show, Matt Brantley, coming to join us tomorrow morning. So make sure you log in and come hang out with us in the morning as well. Make sure you drink your bush tea,
Yeah, man.
You are strong for the conversation.
Yeah, and the election coming up.
Hey, watch here. Make sure you drink your bush tea.
Your
Make sure-
vitamins.
take your vitamins, all of that. You can't, because we know when election coming here, so you gotta make sure you're ready.
You know
gotta
you coming.
we know you're coming. But guys, for those of you who've been commenting, all the callers, we appreciate all your contributions. The show would not be what it is without you guys. You guys are the reason why this thing has been going the way it's been going, and we really are grateful for all your contributions. So stick with us, guys, as we continue to try and just bring you the hot tea in the morning. But Jade, we need to remind our listeners, our viewers, our friends. Jade, spend more time living your content than posting it. That is what happening to a lot of you.
Especially?
Especially who? Oh.
It's okay. Megan said.
Oh.
Megan call the politicians. now. Megan said the politicians spending too much time on Facebook, but it's okay. I do I think.
But guys, and of course, you can't be everybody's cup of tea. Just ask Jonel. See you guys tomorrow.